As long as he doesn't hand out Tomahawks, Putin rushed to criticize the Nobel Committee after they refused to give Trump the Peace Prize. Rheinmetall will provide Ukraine with several more Skyranger 35 air defense systems. They will be financed with funds from Russia's frozen assets. A strategic point is under Ukraine's control. SSO fighters showed a video of the destruction of a Russian sabotage and reconnaissance group in Yampol. This is in Donetsk region. The Kremlin is having problems with cannon fodder, and Russians have begun to be massively blocked from leaving the country because of electronic draft notices. All the details right now. Don't forget to like this episode. And we're starting. Poland supports the idea that neighboring countries should help Ukraine shoot down Russian missiles and drones. However, this requires a NATO decision. This was stated by Poland's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Radosław Sikorski. Sikorski also clarified that this comes against the backdrop of recent Russian provocations in the airspace of Poland, Romania, and Estonia. The process of discussing this initiative is moving at an accelerated pace. Meanwhile, Ukraine will receive air defense systems from Rheinmetall, funded by frozen Russian assets. The German arms company will supply Kyiv with additional Skyranger 35 air defense systems worth €1 million. The funding, as I already mentioned, will come from the proceeds of frozen Russian assets. The Skyranger 35 system combines mobility, armor, and firepower, and is capable of firing 1,000 rounds per minute. Its effective engagement range is 4,000 meters. In the future, the systems are planned to be equipped with guided missiles. The Skyranger 35 can also be mounted on a Leopard tank, which would allow it to protect an area of 16 square kilometers. After yet another massive missile and drone strike on Ukraine's critical infrastructure, Putin started scrambling how to protect himself from retaliatory strikes. The bunker dictator was quick to announce that Russia plans to strengthen its air defense systems amid reports from the US about supplying Ukraine with long-range Tomahawk missiles. He also stated that Russia will soon be able to announce the emergence of new types of weapons and that the alleged tests are going successfully. Russia will soon announce its new weapon, and Zelensky's threat to strike the Kremlin with Tomahawks is not only blackmail but also just showing off, added the Kremlin's mouthpiece. Well, let's wait for a response from the AFU. As they say, it's not just about Tomahawks, and while Putin keeps boasting about some so-called unparalleled weapons, let's talk about real weapons that are already in action. Ukraine has set a global precedent in the production and use of naval drones. More details ahead.
The days of Russia's Black Sea Fleet are numbered. There is less and less time left before the occupiers are completely defeated. This week, Ukraine marks the 3rd anniversary of the first strike on the Crimean Bridge. On October 8, 2022, a powerful explosion rocked the crossing, seriously damaging both the road surface and the railway line. At that time, Ukraine saw the emergence of an entirely new and unique branch of the military and its own advanced type of weapon, naval drones.
As a result of the incident, automobile traffic on the bridge was halted.
That was when the whole world learned what Ukrainian naval drones are capable of.
Ukraine demonstrated that its naval drones are at the forefront of trends and that this is an effective weapon, a new generation of technology. Over the
past 3 years, Ukrainian naval UAVs have become the masters of the Black Sea, while the much-vaunted Black Sea Fleet praised by Putin has been forced to hide from our drones in remote ports.
This is in essence a kind of prototype of the warfare of the future.
The effectiveness of modern Ukrainian naval weaponry is hard to dispute. Time and again, it manages to break through enemy defense systems and reach Russian ports and bays.
Drones and aerial vehicles are very visible from the ground, and they are targeted by, among other things, automatic cannons. And yet they still can't hit it. And this is despite the fact, once again, that the lighting is excellent, it's clearly visible, it's moving relatively close by. They still can't hit it.
With each new attack on Russian warships, Ukrainian drones are becoming more and more advanced technologically.
Naturally, now the entire chain will be targeted, simply because the Ukrainians have taken this on seriously. They're succeeding. They see that Russia's air defense system is failing everywhere, literally. So why not give it a try?
Now, Putin no longer has a single remote base left in the Black Sea where the bunker dweller could hide his fleet from Ukrainian drones. It has just been reported that Ukroboronprom has signed a cooperation agreement with American partners, which gives Ukraine the opportunity to acquire an entirely new type of drone, Ikranoplans, with a range of almost 5,000 kilometers and a payload of 1 ton.
We have agreed to cooperate on the fleet and fly concept, and we also plan to jointly develop solutions to increase the speed and stability of our products. We are interested in expanding production on the territory of Ukraine as well as organizing training for our weapons specialists.
This news has triggered another wave of panic in the Kremlin. Now every military vessel and all without exception Russian army bases on the Black Sea are in the crosshairs of the Ukrainian armed forces.
so that we can achieve our goals. And then
Ukrainian soldiers, more than anyone else, know how to achieve their objectives by any means necessary. It's no coincidence that they are setting global trends in maritime operations. Ukraine's naval drones have prompted other countries to adopt similar technologies. Today, our unmanned boats are the main participants in modern exercises being held in Portugal. In front of representatives of NATO naval forces with dozens of defense and technology companies involved and their experimental weapons in play, a 3-week battle is being waged for control over a notional 10,000 square miles of ocean. As a result of prolonged battles at sea, Ukrainian drones have demonstrated their highest level of effectiveness. Now, according to military experts, the experience gained by the Ukrainian armed forces will be scaled up in the Black Sea.
Ukraine has acquired, and this is now clearly confirmed by all the very recent and significant events, an extremely effective and potent weapon to decisively counter Russia's long-standing naval monopoly, and in actual fact, this development has profoundly undermined that monopoly.
If a year ago Ukrainian drones had effectively driven the Russian fleets out of Sevastopol, now they will find no peace even in Novorossiysk. The Kremlin is clearly unable to keep up with Ukraine's new maritime technologies. While Russian sailors are training to shoot at surface targets, Magura drones, for example, are being equipped with machine guns, anti-aircraft and anti-ship missiles. Some of them are even already serving as miniature aircraft carriers, acting as platforms for launching drones.
such advanced drones can come in many different and varied types, and moreover, they can be effectively utilized in coordinated swarm tactics to confidently and decisively inflict significant damage upon the enemy's naval fleet.
By invading Ukraine in 2014, Putin triggered a whole revolution in naval warfare. Over the past 3 years, Ukraine has completely rewritten the course of such battles, and Western experts are already comparing its contribution to the development of naval forces to technological breakthroughs of their time, such as the construction of submarines or even the advent of steam power replacing ship sails.
In Yampol, Donetsk region, Ukrainian fighters drove out Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups that were trying to gain a foothold in the settlement. The video was posted online. According to the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces, Russian troops were trying to establish themselves in the settlement and create a bridgehead for assaults. The Russian Army's sabotage and reconnaissance groups were driven out by fighters of the 8th Special Purpose Regiment of the Special Operations Forces, named after Prince Isyaslav Sviatoslavovich. The Special Forces carried out a series of special operations, detected and destroyed enemy groups, cleared the area, and prevented further enemy advancement, the statement said. The Special Operations Forces added that as a result of coordinated actions, the enemy suffered losses and was pushed back from Yampil. In the video published online, the Special Forces captured at least one Russian infantryman. The settlement of Yampil is located in the north of Donetsk region, near the Sloviansk section of the front. It holds strategic importance due to its location on transportation routes and its proximity to key settlements in the Donetsk region. Earlier, we had already received reports about attempts by Russian sabotage and reconnaissance groups to gain a foothold in the Yampil area, to which the 11th Army Corps responded by checking and confirming, calling these yet another attempt by the Russians to spread panic and misinform the population. The military also noted that Yampil remains under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, and all attempts by saboteurs to break through are promptly stopped. At the CIS summit in Dushanbe, Putin urged Azerbaijan to forget about the downed plane and attacks on members of the diaspora, and for some reason also stated that Azerbaijan is practically a Russian-speaking country as well. He added that he does not consider what happened in relations to be a crisis between states. I would say that this was more of an emotional crisis, and it's understandable why, because we faced a very difficult event, a tragic one. The death of the plane and its passengers, Putin said. For the first time, the Russian president publicly apologized for the fact that an Azerbaijan Airlines plane came under fire from Russian air defense over Grozny, after which it crashed, killing 38 people. But overall, the International Criminal Court missed the mark. Once again, Tajikistan, as a member of the organization, welcomed the International Criminal Putin with honors on its territory. What was that about? More in the report.
The Russian dictator visited Tajikistan for the first time since 2022. And instead of being arrested, Putin was greeted by an honor guard. The streets were decorated with flowers and an entire paradise garden of fruit. The country, which is a member of the International Criminal Court, ignored the active warrant for the dictator's arrest. This gave him the opportunity not only to attend international summits, but also to strengthen his influence in Central Asia.
This is to be expected, and it's not the first time such a situation has occurred. When Putin travels to different countries, in principle, no one is planning to arrest him.
Even before the visit, Human Rights Watch called on the Tajik authorities either to deny Putin entry or to detain him upon arrival. The Human Rights Organization also appealed to ICC member states, the OSCE, and the European Union, urging them to put pressure on Dushanbe to fulfill its international obligations.
Putin should stand trial in The Hague, not attend international summits in ICC member countries. This was stated by Liz Evanson, Director of International Justice.
However, despite all the demands, the Tajik authorities ignored the appeals of human rights activists and welcomed the Russian killer with full honors. At the airport, he was greeted by President Emomali Rahmon. The streets of Dushanbe were decorated in the colors of the Russian flag, and large screens displaying images of both presidents were set up in the central squares.
European and global organizations have clearly shown themselves over these past 4 years of the full-scale, brutal invasion of Ukraine to be completely and utterly impotent. Neither the UN nor UNESCO nor all these other organizations, all these tribunals and courts have shown that they have any influence at all, that they are not ready to enter into conflict with Russia. And as we can see, our partners, the Europeans, are also not particularly willing to engage in any serious or major confrontational situations with Russia. Our diplomats also need to change their tactics and strategy, stop relying on the Hague Court, and think about how to influence these processes going forward.
Putin arrived in the capital of Tajikistan on October 8th. 2 summits were scheduled there, a meeting of the leaders of the Commonwealth of Independent States and a meeting in the Central Asia-Russia format. It is the second event that experts consider key, as against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine, sanctions pressure, and growing international isolation, the Kremlin is seeking support in the region. The leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan also took part in the negotiations.
It traditionally makes a significant contribution to maintaining peace and stability in the Central Asian region. At the same time, we are actively cooperating with our Tajik colleagues, developing defense, military technical, anti-terrorism, and anti-narcotics cooperation. A guarantor of security in Tajikistan and throughout the region is, among other things, the deployment of the 201st Russian military base in the Republic.
The Kremlin brought along an impressive delegation, including representatives from security and economic agencies, as well as the humanitarian sector. Among the agenda items is the situation of labor migrants from Central Asia, whose rights have been seriously infringed upon since 2022. Foreigners are being forced to go to the front, and after a series of incidents, anti-migrant raids against them have intensified.
Kremlin-backed propaganda is actively fueling xenophobic sentiments. Thousands of migrant children have been denied admission to Russian schools, and politicians in Moscow are proposing to ban migrant workers from bringing their families with them. Nargis Komrabeva, a journalist from Tajikistan.
Today, Central Asia is not just an ally of Moscow. The region has become an important transit corridor for circumventing sanctions, but at the same time, it is also an arena of diplomatic competition. Now more than ever, the Russian dictator is afraid of losing control. After all, China is actively strengthening its position by offering the countries of the region economic and infrastructure projects that provide an alternative to Russian influence.
Putin is not just afraid, he fully understands that he is gradually losing influence over the territory of the Central Asian countries.
After all, in Central Asia, Putin has always felt almost like the main master.
Despite the strengthening of China's position, and also Turkey's, because China largely controls things, as does Kazakhstan, along with, for example, England. And if we look at Uzbekistan, Turkey and China have also strengthened their positions there. But Putin has not given up on his dreams of maintaining Russia's position there. That's precisely why as many significant forums and crucial meetings at the elevated level of heads of state as humanly possible are currently being meticulously held in a concerted effort to somehow clearly and unequivocally demonstrate his profound and undeniable significance. We have to truly understand that against the grim backdrop of the protracted and ongoing war in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin's political position has not been seriously shaken enough to cause significant concern. And in this situation, he is looking for opportunities to maintain his position or even strengthen it, particularly among the Central Asian countries.
But times are changing, and now even such close allies are putting the Kremlin in its place, setting new rules of the game. Central Asia is gradually establishing its own priorities, in which Russia is rapidly losing control with each passing day.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
After the announcement of the Nobel Peace Prize laureate, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, the White House stated that the Nobel Committee had put politics above peace. This was stated by White House Communications Director Steven Cheung on the social network X. Putin, for his part, was quick to state that the Nobel Peace Prize no longer holds the same significance as it once did. He also noted that Trump is actually doing a lot to resolve crises that have lasted for years or even decades. According to the Russian international terrorist, Trump is genuinely striving for peace in Ukraine. In short, any kind of kowtowing, as long as it means no sanctions on the Kremlin. Let me remind you that on the eve of the Nobel Peace Prize award, Trump announced the signing of the first stage of a peace plan between Israel and Hamas. Everything that preceded the Nobel Committee's decision is covered in our next segment. While watching Kotov,
US President Trump is preparing to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for allegedly ending as many as 7 wars, which he claims to have brought to a close. In addition to Trump, the list of possible contenders includes Ukrainian President Zelensky, Yulia Navalnaya, and Greta Thunberg.
I put an end to 7 wars, and in every case they were raging, costing the lives of countless thousands of people. Still, Cambodia, Thailand, Kosovo, Serbia, Congo, Rwanda, Pakistan, India, Israel, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan are included. No other president, prime minister, or country has ever done anything like this. I did it in 7 months.
But what is really behind these grandiose statements, and are they true? Analysts say that Trump and his supporters are literally pressuring the Nobel Committee and imposing the narrative of Trump as a peacemaker on the whole world.
We'll see what happens, but it would be a great insult to our country if I don't get it. I'll tell you, I don't need it. I want everyone to understand that, but it's worth receiving because no one has ever done anything like this before.
After the US struck Iran's nuclear facilities, the fighting with Israel really did stop, but both countries declared not peace, but their own victory in the war. Trump is also rushing to end the war between Israel and Hamas, so that the list of wars ended during his presidency will reach 8 in 8 months.
I just received a note from the guest secretary saying that we are very close to an agreement in the Middle East, and that I may be needed there very soon.
How truly effective all of this will ultimately be regarding the complex situation in the Gaza Strip, the potential return of all prisoners, the establishment of a lasting peace treaty, the recognition of an independent Palestine, or the complete taking of control over the entire Gaza Strip, these are all incredibly significant and profoundly challenging questions that remain to be fully answered. And in fact, the most important thing is that this needed to be done before the 10th.
After 4 days of mutual strikes and mediation efforts by the US, India and Pakistan announced a cessation of hostilities. Pakistan nominated Trump for the Nobel Prize, while in India they stated that Trump had nothing to do with the ceasefire.
Prime Minister Modi made it clear to President Trump that during this period there were no negotiations at any stage on issues such as an India-US trade agreement or American mediation between India and Pakistan. The negotiations for the cessation of hostilities took place directly between India and Pakistan through existing military channels and at the insistence of Pakistan.
Trump threatened Thailand and Cambodia with tariffs, and after that they ended their 5-day hostilities, while Congo and Rwanda even signed a deal at the White House, but never actually stopped the fighting.
For him, winning the prestigious Nobel Peace Prize is profoundly important, and of course he genuinely wants to proudly pin such a significant political medal, a true symbol of achievement, onto the lapel of his jacket for all to see and acknowledge. And the Nobel Prize, of course, has duly recognized his efforts now, and perhaps even spurred him to try to mediate, for example, in the Russian-Ukrainian war as well. Well, of course, such rhetoric is being used, that's absolutely obvious.
Armenia and Azerbaijan also signed a peace agreement at the White House after nearly 40 years of confrontation. This deal is associated with the greatest number of blunders because Trump constantly confuses the names of the countries.
Cambodia and Armenia, and that was just the beginning?
We
resolved the situation in Azerbaijan and Albania, which had lasted for years.
Trump doesn't care either way. Whether it's Armenia or Ubania or Azerbaijan, it makes no difference to him. He really doesn't care at all, but he does react sensitively, in fact, to the opinions of voters who simply need to understand that the President of the United States has ended a huge number of wars, and he truly is a global leader.
The Prime Minister of Albania even joked about this together with the presidents of Azerbaijan and France.
You should apologize to us because you didn't congratulate us on the peace deal that President Trump brokered between Albania and Azerbaijan.
There were no hostilities at all between Egypt and Ethiopia or between Serbia and Kosovo, but Trump still claimed to have supposedly ended the conflicts between these countries as well. That's why...
Because if you look at each of these cases individually, it's actually very difficult to say which war, honestly, President Trump of the United States actually ended in 6 months, which he constantly boasts about.
But most importantly, the war that Trump promised to end in 24 hours is still ongoing. President Zelensky stated that Ukraine would nominate Trump for the Nobel Prize if he manages to secure a ceasefire in the war with Russia.
So all of us working together collectively are indeed ready to officially nominate the current President of the United States, Donald Trump, for the prestigious Nobel Peace Prize if he truly and genuinely demonstrates some very real and tangible progress in actively achieving lasting peace.
It seems that all of Trump's peacekeeping achievements exist mainly in his own head. Whether he can actually win the Nobel Prize for this, we'll find out soon.